Bus, everybody. Welcome back to the Grand Torino. Delighted to introduce to you tonight two new guests for our interview joining us here in the Grand Torino. Mr. Jim Dowson. Jim.
Hello, brother. How you
Thank
doing?
you very much for agreeing us. And Mr. Herman Kelly. Welcome back again, Herman.
Thank you. Very kind.
Before we jump off into tonight's discussion, I just want to remind you, thank you very much for all the new subscribers. Thank you all for your continued support. If you're new to the channel here, don't forget to press the like button, also press the subscription button and the little blue bell, and you'll be reminded of future broadcasts here on the Grand Torino. So, very special one for you tonight. We had a few incidences during the week leading up to Christmas, and Jim, you put out a great Facebook, and it's after getting a great reception, I believe.
It's up to as the day it was over 800,000.
Yeah, it's huge.
Which is incredible because it's only a wee small Facebook. There were like 1,000 or 1,200 people on it. 800,000 hits, nearly all of them from the south.
Yeah.
And people say, was it positive, negative? I don't have a word for it because it was more than positive.
Yeah.
It was. I feel a bit embarrassed because people were putting comments on it that they must have got me confused with Gandhi or something. It was unbelievable. But it shows you how desperate people are when they are so incredibly generous with their comments and seeing me as some kind of great hero. I'm not. I'm just an ordinary fella from the north who can see through this BS that these bankers and these security boys and these fellas that are in charge are trying to put out.
Well, that's what we're gonna dine on tonight. There, with the Strokes down eviction, the general optics. Jim, your reply to that. Obviously, who thought it was a great idea to send these guys down, and then the inflaming and the returning, the mess that's followed it around. So delighted that this conversation, these difficult conversations that need to be had, to be able to come and speak to yourself and to represent all of Ireland in this national discussion, because the enemies of the state the enemies of Ireland are clear to see.
Can I just tell you, actually, that the company did this outrageous thing in Strokerstown with these old people, and I believe they've been responsible for more than that. It's now came to light that just 100 yards where we are sitting right now, these fellas this year came with 75 Land Rovers, armoured Land Rovers filled with heavily armed police to remove a loyalist bonfire. Now, that's an outrageous thing in a loyalist area. It wasn't in a contentious area, a split area, a shared area. It was a loyalist area. And nobody else would do it, apart from this company. Now, nobody knew who they were because they're all masked up and all the rest of it. But now it's all come out that this same company, who's one of the bosses of this company, is actually a bandsman. He's actually a flute band guy. So the bands are on holiday at the moment. They'll start back soon. I would love to be a fly in the wall when he goes to his band practice and he's been ripping down loyalist bonfires. But the good thing that came out of that this summer, and this is what I think inspired me even more and to make this video for friends in the south, was when 75 vehicles, heavily armed vehicles, turned up in a loyalist area of Belfast to rip down a bonfire. 5 years ago, there had been bullets flying. Absolutely without a shadow of doubt. The whole town would have been in fire. The whole Ulster would have been up.
Yeah.
But nothing happened. Is it because the loyalists are going soft? No, not in the slightest. We're learning. We're becoming more educated. We knew what they were at. It was a provocation. You don't need 75 Land Rovers to take down a kid's bonfire and masked men ripping it down. And only last week, masked men appeared at a Belfast football ground and tore down a changing room because they didn't have proper planning permission. This is what they're at. It's in their interest to have people reacting the old way. Whether it be sectarianism, whether it be communal violence, they win out of this. Now, thankfully, and for once in the whole history of the conflict, I think the loyalists are actually ahead of the game. We know what they're at. So let's hope everybody else does.
Do you know what went on in Strokestown there in County Roscommon? And it's, say it after me, Connacht.
Connacht. Aye, sorry about that. Sorry about that.
What were you saying? We were going, what's he talking about?
It's an absolute scandal when people watch that and see Irish Gardaí standing there at the property and watch another former guard being beaten to a pulp by these thugs, right? For me, that was absolutely scandalous. And you see 3 old people beaten up, dragged out of the house by the ear, thrown on the street a few days before Christmas. This has really disgusted the general population in the south and all over the country. And do you know what? You coming out and saying, look, this has got nothing to do with old tribal conflict about Protestants coming down from the north and throwing people out of the houses. That is a farce. That's an attempt by the bank to distract
Absolutely.
you from what is a scandal concerning the politicians
Yep.
who allowed it and facilitated it, and the banks and the vulture funds which have facilitated this whole scenario down south. And you know what? You walked off the reservation, you took a risk, and you came out and you said, it's nothing to do with religion, it's nothing to do with old sectarian hatreds. This has to do with people being protected, having rights in their own country, and being protected by their own police force. So, Jim, as it's Christmas Day, and I give you, I was going to get you whiskey, but I was thinking maybe you didn't drink. But the whole thing, you took a risk, and I'm sure the reaction you got to the video you put up, you could see a very positive reaction from people in the south, all over Ireland, who said nothing to do with sectarianism. And you know what? But it also does something very important. It starts up a discussion and a dialogue.
Yes.
And you know what? Something I've learned with looking and learning from being involved in politics for some years now. You don't lose when you make your enemy your friend.
Absolutely.
And where before you were talking about what could have happened 10 years ago or 20 or 30 years ago, and we know it could have been very, very different. But events move on. History changes.
And we need to move on.
And we need to move on, change our thinking. And you know what? When you look at it now, we have kind of Protestants in the north and Catholics in the south. As I'm from the Bogside in Derry. Like we both have very, very good credentials for who we are. I'm from the Bogside in Derry. Went to St. Colum's College, got a scholarship to Irish College, played hurling for the Maiha, even studied theology as a licentiate at Maynooth, editor of the Irish Catholic. But you know what? Events move on, and we got to recognise that we have a hell of a lot more in common than we have apart.
Absolutely.
So on social issues, when you look at what happened, like they're going to introduce abortion down south from January, right? Like what Sinn Féin and people before profit, even Fine Gael, what's their immigration policy? Abort and import.
I can't understand.
So they want to wipe out Sinn Féin. The big thing used to be our revenge will be the laughter of our children. Now their desire is the slaughter of our children. And we look and we're stunned at our own country.
You're no half as stunned as me. Well, first of all, thank you for those milk tray chocolates, but I want to make it very clear, just in case
the
there's
low
another
calorie.
occasion. I'm no free Presbyterian, but I remember that Jesus' first miracle was turning water into wine. So any time again you can bring some single malt up. But anyway, yes, on a serious point, as a loyalist and as a Protestant, I can't understand it. I just can't understand it. It's beyond my comprehension. I mean, when that thing went out, we had only one or two negative remarks out of 15,000 in that video. One of them was from a very well-known Belfast Republican. And I said to him about things like immigration and abortion. And the first thing he showed me is, I'm not a Catholic. What? But you represent this I don't know. It's beyond my comprehension. Anyway, he's not a Catholic. And he had a go at me because he said I was a racist, tribalist, and so on and so forth. So let's look at this in the context of what's happening in Ireland, because I am genuinely confused. I have really no idea what the hell's going on. Racist. No, I've not got a racist bone in my body because I believe in God. And God created all men. There is one race, the human race. That's it. Judging a man by the colour of his skin pigmentation is not only stupid, it's immoral. It's ridiculous. It's a daft thing. Now, there's more people. Most people that I know who I don't like come from my own community. That's just because I know more of them. So I don't care whether you're black, brown, pink with green spots. If I like you, I like you. If I don't, I don't. But I do believe this. And I said to this guy in Ireland, this guy in Belfast, he said to me, would you put Irish people in houses before anybody else? This is absolutely. And in the Belfast context, if you're living in a Belfast Irish Catholic area, Belfast Irish Catholics would come first before anybody else, including us, because it's their area. And absolutely 100% before people coming in from Ghana or wherever else they're coming from. And people say, what about refugees? Look, the UN Charter on Refugees states that the first country, the country that's free, should take them in. Well, to come from Syria to Ireland, you need to pass through a hell of a lot of countries. I don't know how many.
First protocol is read as Muslim.
And the EU Dublin Convention as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there was an instance there week, 4 Albanians rock up in Ireland, right? They're stopped in Longford. And the guards stop them and say, guys, where are you from? Where are your papers? Are you here? We're like, where do you come from? Oh, we're Albanian. And how'd you get here? Oh, we came here via Spain. Well, he says, well, you're here illegally, so we have to take you in. He says, well, take us to the police station. We want to apply for refugee status. Like,
And it opens up a whole new...
It wasn't even
opens up a whole
local.
new thing.
But the whole thing, look at the changes in the south, right? We've had a massive, immigration policy of Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, as the Irish Troika, as I call them, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Sinn Féin. Like, Sinn Féin immigration policy is Brits out, everybody else in.
I can't understand.
And the whole thing of corruption in the south is tied in with a lack of accountability. Those three parties, they all agree on one thing, and that's EU control.
Yeah, they're supported the EU loyalists.
Euro loyalists,
Euro loyalists.
European Unionists, they all want, and you know what? And this is involved with the Brexit thing in the last few years. It's always been, and I speak as an Irish nationalist, our desire over hundreds of years was always that we could democratically determine our own future. That is our.
That's what the whole war was about. Surely that's what the whole struggle was about.
That's what it was all about. So when the whole Brexit vote came up, you would expect Sinn Féin, as a Republican Party, to say, yeah, we agree with democratic self-determination, we agree for ourselves, and we agree it as internationalists, as they call themselves, for everybody else. But no, they opposed it. They went for the sectarian headcount, the very thing that you brought up.
Same thing
about
here.
Roscommon, the sectarian headcount.
Also, the union has done the same thing here.
Yeah.
Same thing. But this is what I don't understand, and we should clarify that, me personally, if you have a genuine refugee pitches up here and come and stay in my house, seriously, I'm a Christian. If a genuine refugee comes here, I ain't going to turn my back on them. I already run organisations that send aid to refugee centres all over the world, mainly going to Muslim people. So any old nonsense that some people say, oh, he's anti-Muslim, he's anti-this. I'm anti anybody who destabilises your country. And that goes for bankers, huge waves of migrants and all the rest of it. But here's what I do. Try and answer me this, but because you two boys are Irish nationalists, and I don't understand this. So the IRA fought a war, turn of the century. My family, my wife's family were hounded and burnt out at Cavan because they wanted an island for the Irish people. And you know, there's this whole thing. Ulster Stormont was a Protestant parliament from Protestant people. That was rhetorical, again, to the statement made in the Dáil Éireann that Ireland was a Catholic country for Catholic people. I'm okay with that. Listen, I'm okay with that. Yeah. Absolutely. So why go through all that? Why then go through a bloody civil war? Why then go through the last 30 years of troubles and mayhem and thousands, countless of people dead to get the Brits out, but let everybody else in? What is that about?
It's usurpation. It's subversion of the democratic rights of the people. Slowly and slowly, the rights from the Constitution are being withdrawn. Slowly and slowly, their rights, and they're being distracted by mainstream not being the fourth estate that it's supposed to be to hold power to account. You know what I mean? And then the politicians. You know, through the years and years of corruption, it's all snowballed.
This is why the people need to come together, because if they know the only power they've got in this island, because it's easy to stir up a hornet's nest in Ireland.
It's exactly what the Strokes Town incident was.
Exactly. They poke the right buttons and everybody reacts. And then the attention is gone from the people who are really doing us damage.
Yeah, the banks.
And I think that's what, I mean, round about here now in the loyalist areas, and I've got to say this, if you look at some of the bonfires on the 12th, yes, they still burn the odd tricolour, but generally, the Pope has now gone from the top of them, which is great. And what's on the top of them now? And the media's gone nuts. EU flags and ISIS flags. I've got pictures of them. They're on my Facebook.
I've seen them.
ISIS flags and EU. That's because the young generation now have no beef with the Irish. No. They go to Tenerife, they go to Benidorm, they're meeting Irish folk in the bars, they're bevying with them, they're dancing with them. They've no beef with the Irish anymore. Yeah. The beef is with these bloody bureaucrats and politicians who don't represent us, and they're trying to destroy us. And we need to unite, or else they'll just pick us off one by one. As simple as that.
And the whole thing about democratic is his third time.
Democratic
self-control.
He's ranked
is that what it should? That's why it should support Brexit. In principle, that you have the right to determine your own future. You voted that way. You voted for Brexit. You voted to take back control from the EU. And you know what? Also down south, and in the north as well, we wanted that for ourselves as well, the right to
Self-determination.
determine our own future. And so we want Brexit to happen. We want EU out of the north. We want the EU control out of the south. And we determine our own future, and we determine relations between both communities on this island among our.
Sure, there's no point in having a vote. Look what happened in Britain. They had the democratic vote, the biggest turnout in British history, and now they want to rerun the vote. You said that in Ireland with the naughty niece. They just kept running the vote until they get the result they want. Yeah. And this is the problem with these so-called liberals. I have never met a more vicious bunch of characters in my life as the liberals.
Intolerant.
And totally intolerant.
You really go down to Dublin. Really
I've seen them. I had a wee taste of it with some of the boys here who say they're Irish Republicans, but they're pro-immigration, they're pro-abortion, they're anti-church.
Yeah.
I can't understand.
It's all flipped on its head.
I
can't understand it.
Sinn Féin hate, and actually Fianna Fáil, well, not Fianna Fáil aren't as bad, but Fine Gael for sure, people before profit, Sinn Féin, they hate Irish culture.
Is it true? This is why
somebody told me they want to wipe it out.
Somebody told me the government's announced they're going to bring 1 million immigrants into Ireland over the next.
So in the last 20 years, since 1998, there's been an extra million people in the south of Ireland, right? And by 2040, Fine Gael policy is to bring in another 1 million people.
But it won't be Ireland anymore.
They want, and Sinn Féin policy is to have a united Ireland, but that Irish will be a minority in their own country. Yeah. What's Irish about that?
The Southern Irish are going to have to move up here.
Well, yeah, that's probably the sort of thing.
But we'll welcome them. They come up here and stay with us. But no, how can this be? Look, this is the problem, and I think people are getting frustrated with this. You know, we're no raging, foaming at the mouth bigots or any of the rest of it, or xenophobic or whatever. But Ireland is Ireland because of the people. It's not because of the rocks or the trees. Culture, The Irish make Ireland. Ulster people make Ulster. Scottish people make Scotland. Welsh, English. Yeah. Well, look what's happened to England. Is England anymore? Yeah. You know, you can travel 40, 50 miles through the north of England, and all you can hear is a call to prayer, and you won't see an Englishman. And people say, well, he's an Englishman. Look, a boy with a big beard down here and a caftan down there. Yeah. He might have English on a British passport, but in my opinion, and the Bible's opinion, let's be clear about this, because people say to me, Jim, that attitude you've got is not biblical. Let me tell you, because I'm a bit of a biblical scholar, I also trained theologically. The Bible's very clear about it. You could move to another country in the Bible times, move into Israel, but you'd to live there for 7 generations, unblemished, no hassle, no problems, no giving any grief. 7 generations before you could be considered a citizen. 7 generations, not how many years that's about.
There's a test.
150 years or something like that. And then if you were good and you'd kept your nose clean, you'd be a citizen. I'm all for that. If you want to come here from Pakistan or anywhere else, and for 7 generations you keep your nose clean and you fit in with our society and you live by our laws and you obey everything and you become as Ulster or Irish as me, you're one of us. I'll shake your hand.
They're having these ceremonies. There was one in Clarny there.
Well, I was just going to say this. This is the globalism bankers type thing, is to give away the nationhood, as in give away the passports, give away access to benefits, no self-deportation. Yeah. There's no incentive to leave, so the problem just
But the left are banging this drum as well.
But the
left I don't understand. The left are banging this drum. The liberals are banging this drum.
Yeah, because the barefaced capitalism and these self-proclaimed socialists, they have a lot in common. It's a materialistic thing. And people before profit, Sinn Féin, mass immigration, who does that help down south? The rack renters, the landlords, the big banks.
The big wigs, as usual.
That they're just consumers and producers, and they've no culture, they've no identity, they've no solidarity, and therefore they're pliable to anything. Like the banks, like you've raised the whole thing, keep the focus on the politicians and on the banks.
Don't get sidetracked.
You know what's happened with the banks? Because of EU membership, we were in the wrong currency. We were in the euro, which is a currency of occupation. Because of that, we had cheap labour, cheap credit from the euro. We had building boom and bust. The mass immigration out of the south. And the EU, the troika, the EU, European Commission, IMF, ECB, whatever, they imposed 85 billions worth of bank debt, private Franco-German bank debt in Irish people.
And
now we're liable for that for generations. So it's banks. So when people ask about, Oh, they're all complaining about austerity. We can't afford this, can't afford it. Why can't we afford it? Because we're paying off this bank debt imposed by
There's
the
no even
EU.
Irish. There's no Irish.
It's nothing to do with us.
Nothing to do with Ireland.
So keep it on the banks.
It's a scandal.
Keep it on the
And the
politicians.
government don't. But these people say, look at Ireland. It's a Celtic tiger. They've got Google and they've got Facebook and all these other boys pitching up there.
They're not paying their taxes.
They're not paying any taxes.
They're not paying taxes. How's that?
And do you know what happened? See, the first time the Irish government say that you're going to have to pay a wee bit of tax, boys. And can you imagine them getting in and pulling them directors out by the ears like they did to them old folk in Roscommon? Yeah. These vultures, these parasites, vampires, are paying no tax. And the minute the Irish government try to tax them boys, they're gone. There's 100,000 jobs gone.
There's the jobs gone, but that's how the government's getting their money. They're getting money off the employees' tax, but they're not paying the corporation tax.
No, they're paying nothing.
And you had a case there about a month ago, Sean Fitzpatrick, who was, I think, director of Anglo-Irish Bank. I think he ended up owing 140 million, right? And there's a court case, and he skipped off free. So it's old people, vulnerable people,
normal people,
poor people,
normal people
who these thugs come up, and the banks get their henchmen to come out, kick these old people out of their homes before Christmas, while someone like Sean Fitzpatrick, who's sitting in his big house in Malahide, no problem.
Yeah, well, that needs to be looked again. I want to bring up another subject, boys, before you chip on, because it's being touted around. It's probably got to be careful of that.
Oh, be careful mentioning that around here.
And I want to bring it up again. I just get your opinion on it as well. It's the Citizens Initiative referendum. I don't know if you're aware of it, Jim.
No, what is it?
It was in part of the Constitution. I know, Herman, you're aware of it as well.
Yeah.
It is part of the Constitution. It's being brought back in. It was taken out originally. It's designed for citizens to initiate a referendum themselves on subjects concerning national issues. But the government took it out that only that they could initiate referendums.
Does it surprise me?
But it's coming back through the Senate, and I only just want to draw people's attention to it while I have, people like yourself and yourself, Herman, maybe you could delve into it a little bit more for me, is that it'll give us a backstop. It'll give us that option to press, hang on a minute, we're not happy with that decision. Maybe we could come back and have a look at it again. Or, certain other referendums have passed. We need that control, that the citizenry have that control to rein back
I'm
government.
not convinced that even if you have that, that'll be any good to you, because look at Britain. We've got a parliamentary democracy founded through a civil war. People forget that England had a civil war, and the parliament. Now, there's a myth in Britain that the parliament is sovereign. The parliament is not sovereign. The people are sovereign.
Yeah.
This is what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
In Ireland, well, the people are sovereign in Britain, and now the politicians in Westminster are saying, "I think we'll just do away with that Brexit. We won't have it." And I made a video the day after the Brexit vote saying this won't happen. They won't allow it to happen. So I think the days, and don't get me wrong, I think the yellow jackets and all that stuff is fantastic and great and all the rest of it. But I think to change politicians now is going to take a much stronger, much bigger people power movement. These guys are going to have to be at some stage in the future dragged out their ivory towers by the ankles and them flung in the street.
Total disconnect.
Well,
total disconnect.
Kind of political, or kind of street movements and pressure movements and all that there, I think are a complete waste of time, because you need to get political power. You need to remove these people who are damaging our society very deeply at the minute. And so I'm involved with this Irexit Freedom, Irexit Freedom to Prosper, or Era Macum in the Saoirse, as we have it in Ireland, is to get Ireland, take back control, democratic control of our own country, leave the European Union, be free to have a free trade deal with other countries in the world, like with Britain, other growing economies like Italy and like India and Brazil and China, where there's global growth. But we need to take back the power from these politicians. The only way to do that is to vote them out, to change our pattern of voting. See that these people are so corrupt. One of the reasons that they're corrupt is because they're not accountable.
No.
They say, it's the Brussels, that's a directive from Brussels or a regulation from Brussels, so they can always blame what's happening on Brussels.
More or less a two-party system, like up here. I mean, this
With
area,
the whip.
This area here we're in. But these people, these poor working class loyalists here, they never see DUP. This is the DUP area. They never see them. They see them once every 4 years, and what they have to do. There's a choice here, and don't get me wrong. Up here, Sinn Féin do a lot more for their people than DUP do for our people. Now, here's the choice the politicians got in Northern Ireland. You get elected and you work your guts out. You have the long nights, the sleepless nights, doing your best to secure your people, to make sure you get voted in the next time. Or you do bugger all, stuff the money in your pockets. A week before election, you go around and say, you better vote for me, or the Emmons. them Republicans will get in. You know what? One the MPs take every time, and the politicians take every time, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
We have to break this monopoly that these
culture,
guys
the
have
culture
got.
has to change.
We have to break it and get proper political. Now, I'm not here to cheerlead for any party, but as long as you've got Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, Sinn Féin, DUP, we're never going to get anywhere because these two guys don't give a rat's arse for us and anybody else.
The same. You're going to get the same results.
You're going to get the same results.
Sinn Féin did there. They went for the sectarian headcount in regards which way they supported and the Brexit thing. But like, I'm from the north. I'm from the Brandywell in Derry, but I have never experienced the anti-Catholic,
I've seen it,
savage anti-Catholic stuff that I've experienced down in Dublin, and this rabid hatred of all things Christian and Catholic in the south is unbelievable. And the whole thing about introduction of, do you think that people would be so misled and barbaric to vote for the killing of their own children?
It's unbelievable. I never thought
another optics disaster.
I've got offices in Eastern Europe, Central Europe, mainly Catholic countries, a couple of Orthodox countries, and people were saying to me, if the Irish went mad, if they went completely mad, because here's the thing. Ireland will kill, on average, if I go with the figures of Scotland or Wales, Ireland will kill between 12 and 15,000 of its own people every year with this abortion thing. Now, so that's in 10 years, 150,000 Irish people will be dead. And you can dress up all you want and do what you want. I mean, remember 10 years ago, people were saying a baby in the womb wasn't even a baby until the ultrasound pictures came out. As if you didn't know. But this is how mad these people are, these lefties. They'll say, it's not a baby. Well, what the hell is it? A cabbage? It's not alive. Well, if it's not alive, you don't need an abortion. Just go home and forget about it. You're in for a queer shock in 9 months, I'll tell you. But now we've got the 4D. We can see the baby smiling and everything. And the doctor's getting there. Let's just be honest here. The doctor's getting there and chop that living way into bits. And you're not allowed to give that baby getting chopped to bits any painkiller, because then you're admitting as a human being. This is the madness we're living in. Now, let me tell you, I am absolutely, totally opposed to abortion. I stood when they tried to open that clinic in Belfast, and God bless the DUP, because they tortured the life out of them until they shut them. But also the Catholics standing outside doing the rosary every day for 2 or 3 years. But the first day that was trying to open, I was there. And the woman who opened it was Dawn Purvis, who was a spokesman for the political wing of the UVF, the PUP. And I gave her jip that day because I'm against abortion. Let me tell you something. See an abortionist knife, it doesn't know whether you're orange, green, purple or anything else.
Doesn't care.
It kills you. Now, if somebody had went to the Irish nation 100 years ago and said, we are going to bring people here who will kill 15,000 Irish people every year. We're going to do that. The Irish would have been going for their pitchforks, knives, hatchets, axes, and they'd have fought them to a standstill in the street. What did I see this year? I'm so ashamed of what I've seen. And I still find it quite emotional even thinking about it. People, Irish people, young Irish people, dancing outside the GPO, celebrating the fact that they can now murder their own babies. What was it for? What was Pierce for? What was Connolly for? What was the GPO for? What was Olliott for? What was the Flying Commerce for? Why did my family have to suffer? Why did anybody have to suffer?
But they must feel like they've been duped now, because you can see the rhetoric coming out now, because as you mentioned,
I hope so.
As we say, no painkillers.
Even more radical.
It's even more radical than they described.
And they're talking about second referendum. Well, let's have a second referendum on that issue.
This is the madness. And until people get their heads together, how can we save ourselves if we kill?
By conversations like this, but there's these difficult conversations.
But there's a whole thing about we have so much in common in regards social policy.
Totally.
Right? Because there's so many Irish people completely opposed. Like, we are a pro-natalist party. We're in favour of people having children, supporting families to have kids, because no country has a future without children. I know. And you think for the Shinners to call himself Republican and Fine Gael and all that, we're a nationalist party, and the first thing they want to do, but we want to kill Irish kids, and you know what? We also want to replace them with every other nationality that wants to come into our country.
If you're an Irish Republican, all you have to do is look at Belfast. The bombs and the bullets never had any real impact on the loyalists. We're probably stronger now in our areas than we've ever been, because we've been forced into being harder and tougher. What happened in Belfast was a demographic change. That's why the Republicans are in a seat of power now. It wasn't because of the violence. It's just because of the demographic change. I stood up in an area in North Belfast a couple of years ago, when the last of the Protestants were moving out and the Catholics took over their houses, and the streets were red, white and blue. There was Union Jacks and the lampposts, and they were taking them down as they moved. The place was called Torrens. And that's what happened, the demographics. So we used to see the weapon that was most effective against us. Wasn't it an AK-47? It was Bobby Sands saying, our revenge will be the laughter of our children. That struck fear into us, because we knew we could see our streets changing. We could see our areas changing. And all of a sudden, they go, nah, we'll not have that anymore. We'll just kill our own babies.
Yeah.
Because what will happen now is the new people coming into Ireland will replace the Irish. It's a madness. It's a madness.
It's in your
grand
face, though.
replacement. The great replacement.
It was in there. It's since been taken out. They actually had replacement programs.
It is a replacement. And the thing is
And it's
this.
stripped out.
I don't want to see anybody being replaced. And, Northern Ireland Protestants, we are the most conservative people on this island. Even the ones who are not particularly religious. We're just naturally, socially conservative. Yeah. We're not keen on the whole gay marriage thing. We don't have it here. We're not keen on the abortion thing. We don't have it here. Now, who would have thought?
What are you like? You're not like Sinn Féin. You're not going around campaigning for like tranny toilets all the time.
No, this week.
That's the burning issue of our day for Sinn Féin.
It's not just the Sinn Féin. Everywhere, all across Britain now, and I know people on the left, good people. I mean, real left-wing people who have got an ideology. I disagree with it, but I can respect their ideology and their intellectual rigour in it. But it's these madcap liberals who have morphed with the left-wing, and now you've got the situation in England where the left and the liberals all fighting with each other because nobody's talking about workers' rights. Nobody's talking about housing. Nobody's talking about benefits. Nobody's talking about pensioners. Everybody's talking about gender politics. So now there's a thing last week in Britain where it's been deemed that boys have the right to have a period.
Yeah,
I mean, for flick's sake,
but
that comes
Jim,
from?
again, it's the media again.
Even biology.
No, but it's just going against complete
But the whole
science.
thing,
But
why is the media pushing it out, though?
even the whole thing as you raised there about Sinn Féin and our revenge will be the laughter of our children. I said, yeah, now Sinn Féin policy is the slaughter of our children. But as you say, like, even a number of years ago, we thought demographically, Irish Catholics will only be a majority in the north, and in a generation or so, we'll have a united Ireland. That's kind of like logical. You can see the logical
the whole
kind of
thing.
thing.
The whole
but now they want to slaughter their own children.
It's up the spout.
It's just unbelievable.
It's up the spout, and people should remember as well, 25,000 people, 25,000 English are immigrating to Ireland every year, and they're filling the gaps that there is the dead Irish have left. So if you fast forward that, and we know the problems England's going to have with the immigration and the Islamic thing, you could easily, because remember it's a big country, there's 60 million of them over there. Here in this island, we think we're really important, but we're a wee tiny dot in the Atlantic. If you multiply that to the stage where you've got 50 or 100,000 English coming every year, which I'm sure is starting to happen because of the white flight for one reason or another, are you going to even have an island in 10 years? Now, I can tell you this, this is very controversial, and I may get burnt out of my house after this gets aired. But I would rather share this island with my Irish kith and kin, because remember, I'm a Scot, I'm not a Saxon, I'm not Anglo, and I think down south, Irish people tend to forget that. They think we're all English. I'm a Scot. We share a common language. We are the same tribe. The Scots originated in Ireland and we conquered Alba and we called it Scotland. We are the same tribe. We're tribal people. And tribal people, family means something. Faith means something. Our land means something.
Do you know what? And I'll tell you, Ronan, that he texted me in Scotch Gaelic.
Yeah.
And I texted him back in Irish. I know. So it's the same language.
Yeah, we can
and
reciprocate.
Actually, Ulster Irish is more similar to Scotch Gaelic. It's very, very similar.
But I want to share this island with Irish people. I don't want to share this island and no harm to them with Chinese people or African people or Indian people. If there's some of them here, fine, good, I don't have a problem. But I don't want Ireland in 20 years' time when I go down there to see my old hunting grounds and my old family's home, people to be speaking patois. I want people to be speaking either the same as me or the Gaelic. It's a ridiculous proposition that you would give away your country. Nobody in Europe has fought so hard as the Irish. Now, right or wrong, I'm coming from a different side of the fence, and we know that. It irks me sometimes what happened, but it happened. But what the hell was the point of that? What was the point of fighting so hard to give it away to somebody else?
Just to lie down on your back and let it happen.
It's a madness.
And then 2 weeks ago, we had our Exit Freedom. We had a protest outside the Dáil on a Thursday, and it was against the UN Migration Pact, which basically facilitates a mass immigration.
Makes a mockery of it.
Makes a mockery that
the Dublin Convention
makes mass immigration
easy. It makes you a criminal if you criticise.
It stops the distinguishing between a genuine refugee and an illegal economic migrant. And the whole thing and the poster we had was our land, what was it again? Our land, our law, and our lifetime. That's what we always wanted. And you know what? Like, we both grew up in a very sectarian society.
Terrible society, right? Yeah.
But we both, I think, learned, we changed as events have changed, And like, you're not going to be disappearing anytime soon.
No,
we're
no,
not
no.
going to be disappearing anytime soon. But we see our culture and our land changing very dramatically. And well, certainly, I don't like to see many of the leaderist social changes taking place in Ireland. The kind of replacement of Irish people by I don't want Irish people to be a minority in our own country by 2050.
Well, who
It's a
owns
very
the
real
country?
possibility.
And I want to
It's an absolute certainty.
determine our
It's a
own
certainty.
future as
It's
well.
just- here's the thing, and people say, well, you're an Ulster Scot. What right have you got here? Again, the Scots are an Irish tribe.
Yeah,
So we have to
that's
get
right.
that but proper history. And here's the thing. It's Irish people, Ulster people, it was us. Now, rightly or wrongly, and mainly wrongly, it was us who attacked each other for centuries. We are the people who've bled and died for this island. If you go into that soil out there and you test that DNA, there'll be a trace of my ancestors' DNA that can back 5,000 years. Same with you guys. This is your island. Now, we've had big difficulties. We need to get over them damn quick, or both of us are going to lose this island. And my forefathers, your forefathers, fought, bled, and died and cried for this island. It's our island. It belongs to us. And I don't care who hears me. If they say, that's a racist attitude, well, that's fine with me.
No, we
This
can't be
is
able to
our
push past
island.
all that, Jim. We don't pay attention to that when it's not warranted in the
No,
slightest.
it's ridiculous to be accused of being a racist.
Yeah,
to want your own country.
racism and all that kind of stuff. Now, for the last 10 or 15, for this little bit of section as well, I'm not going to steer it again, but the fact that you two guys from both your respective communities have sat down and are able to address, and you're both purporting to want to go in the same direction.
Absolutely.
And it would help all people where it's possible, but we want to maintain not just Irish for the Irishness, but all peoples are welcome if they defend the ethos and the culture of
The
Irishness
values. Yeah,
and
yeah.
the values of
But
Irishness.
you know what? In hurling, as I said, I used to play hurling for Namiha in Derry and at Maynooth as well. And I remember playing a match against Sean O'Halpin, who's a big hurler, captain of Cork. I played against him. His dad is famously commented one time, his dad's from Fermanagh, his ma's from Fiji, neither hurling strongholds. But as I'm playing against this guy who's half Fijian, I'm not going to say, you're not fucking Irish.
No, of course not.
No.
Of course he's Irish, because he came in, his people came in, they took the culture. As they say about the Normans, when they came to Ireland, they eventually became more Irish
They
than
became the Old English,
than the
absolutely.
Irish
Feed it.
themselves. That over centuries, they come in, they integrate, they take on our culture, our values, and they become
There's
Irish.
nothing
So
wrong with
it's
that.
got
There's nothing
nothing
wrong
to
with
do
that.
This
with
is too
race
much
at all.
too soon. This is exactly what we're saying.
And
There's not
we
enough time
have
for
a-
integration.
And it's unfair to the immigrants.
It's unfair.
to the
Yeah, I
immigrants.
always
It's
say it
unfair
on
to
both
them.
sides
We
of the
have
fence.
a guy there who spoke last Thursday as well, Ben Scallon. His man's Jamaican, his father's Irish.
But they can't say that. They shut down. The dissonance. The dissonance.
So it's
that
got
shut
nothing
down.
to do with
of
race
course.
whatsoever.
We're the
But it does have to do with
Irish
culture.
nation and
It's
family.
listen, we have one of the best families that live up beside me. Their daughter was killed recently in Afghanistan, and she was from Samoa or Fiji, one of these kind of islands. And they have every more right to be here than anybody else because they've gave a child for this country. You'd have to be a lunatic, some kind of crackpot from the 1970s in the right-wing movement in England or something like that, to think, you can't have any people here. We need people here. But here's the other thing. There's an imperialism going on, cultural imperialism. Because I work a lot in Hungary. And the Hungarian health service was at the stage of collapse because they train their young people to become doctors and surgeons, and immediately they're off to the west. Mainly Ireland.
Brain drain, yeah.
So what they've done now, Viktor Orban said, no, you can't go. If we pay for your degree here, you stay here 10 years, then you can go. And this is the thing. Just as the British used to go about and steal the ivory and the raw materials, now we're stealing the best raw materials, and that is the young people of a nation are their best asset. So now we've stripped out the Philippines. The Philippines health service has collapsed because if you go a couple of miles up the road to the Ulster Hospital, it's wall-to-wall Filipino doctors and nurses, and they're fantastic people, wonderful people. They're Catholic. They're totally integrated in the community here. Not a problem. But what has that done to the Philippines? It's completely destroyed the Philippines. So all these lefties that are saying, Dowson, you're a racist. No. You, Mr. Lefty, are a globalist. You're an imperialist and an imperialist because you're asset stripping the Philippines, you're asset stripping Serbia, Hungary, all of these struggling countries, Bulgaria, Romania, you're stripping them of their best asset, their young people. So don't lay fingers at me. You're an imperialist globalist and you're helping to asset strip these countries.
And we're not doing anything to bring our brain trust. We've got all these incentives now to bring, help the poor all around the world. But the very people that we need to bring back are, our youth that left after the 2008
so many Irish people all around the world.
Yeah, we've often heard that.
Did you leave London, Derry, when you left school? Did you leave?
Yeah, at 19, I was in Scotland for 6 years.
And I went to London.
I was in Swansea.
Every single one of my sisters went to London. I've got one in Australia now. We all had to leave. So this is a history of our people that we had to
you know
leave.
what? It's not just, we were talking earlier about, you texted me in Scotch Gaelic, I texted you in Irish. As I was saying, I played hurling in Derry, Namaiha in Derry, but also when I was over there, I was out practicing hurling, met these guys who were playing shinty. And ended up playing for a shinty team as well, out of Edinburgh.
Can you just explain to our audience there about home shinty before you...
Well, hurling is the one with stick and ball in the pigskin, and shinty is the Irish version, no, sorry, it's a Scottish version of the same game. Actually, they had the same game in Ireland. Shinty was the summer version, hurling was the winter version of the same game. But when the GA formed in, I think, 1888 or so, they chose the hurling. But actually, it's very...
the camogie as well.
It's my daughters play camogie. Yeah. But in 1905, Burt and Donegal were Ulster hurling champions. But if you look at the sticks that they're playing with, they're shinty sticks. So the commonality in language and culture and dance is so close.
Music,
and you know what? There used to be a guy, Desmond Greaves, and he was a great kind of teacher of a great friend of mine who I respect, Dr. Anthony Coughlin, who used to teach in Trinity. And he used to say about the conflict up in the north and about EU influence. The EU has such a massive influence in the laws that are imposed in the north and in the south. And the troubles. He used to say, what's that all about? You're fighting, bombing and shooting each other, fighting over who makes 30%, for the ability to just make 30% of your laws, where the majority of your laws are imposed from Brussels.
Gusty Spence said when he came round in his later years, he said, our houses were as big as shitholes as the ones across the fence in the falls, but we thought in some way we were privileged. We have woke up. A lot of the people up in the north now, we've woke up, and I think we're actually more progressive now than many Irish Republicans down south. We really have, because we got it tight, and we understand now. Nobody's doing us any favours. Nobody's stepping in to save our bacon. We're on our own, and the deal is we come together and we work something out in this island, and that's not for my generation or our generation. It's maybe a future generation.
But
what we can
have
do
to
is
start
we can show humanity. We can show humanity. And I can tell you, not just me, many, many good loyalists and Protestants up here, when we seen those scenes from Roscommon, we couldn't believe what we were watching. And what we couldn't believe is the Gardaí Síochána standing there, like lemons, watching them.
Unbelievable.
Watching them. There's a film out today where one being dragged.
The chap that was on the ground was ex-Gardaí. The chap that was being
He's an
beaten.
ex-policeman, and he's getting dragged out the house with boys. Now, the fact that it was people from the north gives us a horrific sense of shame. But I can assure you that fella doesn't represent us. And I spoke to many serious loyalists and Protestants, and everybody said, was that a kid on film? Did somebody make that film? I said, no, it's real. Yeah. And they were horrified. Yeah. They were deeply shamed. And maybe the next time there's Protestants down in Roscommon, there'll be a big mob of us to make sure we guard these houses. We are brothers and sisters down there to make sure Egypts like that don't come down and throw people about again. And that's the only time I think you're ever going to see an incursion into the south by us northerners, is to stand shoulder to shoulder. And I'd be the first to do it. I've got old people in my family, and I'll tell you right now, nobody deserves to be treated like that. Absolutely. And young men have to stand up and say, no more, I'm not having it.
You got it 100% right. And you got to keep the focus on changing the politicians who have power over us, the ultimate power, the EU, who have the real power, and the banks who have bled the country dry, who are throwing old people out in the street before Christmas. But you've done, is the phrase, the nation a great service.
Well, Varadkar wants to silence people. He's saying now it's hate speech to criticise him, and people like me won't be able to put a video up in future because he's seen the power of it, and he said, we're not having that anymore. Yeah. So
the thing that they hate most is the freedom of social media, that people can get their message across to ordinary people, they can pin the blame on the people who deserve it.
Yeah, they don't like
which is the bankers and the politicians, and not ordinary people.
Well, I just hope that the video, and I know it has meant a lot to people, and it certainly humbled me as a human being. And, we've all got ghosts for the pasts, and the Troubles here gave a lot of people a lot of ghosts. And I had a lot of people who were involved in the Troubles from the other side coming on to me and saying, Did the video actually exercise a lot of ghosts from their life, and would they like to meet and would like to have a pint and all the rest of it? And I'm open to that because, listen, there's no future in conflict.
Yeah.
Gentlemen.
Very good.
The conflict the next time is with the banks.
I think that's a great
good.
God
segment
bless you,
there, Donald.
Tom. God bless you.
Herman, just give us a second there now. I think that's a great intro to a start of a conversation. I want to thank Jim for agreeing to sit down and have a chat with us. I want to agree, Herman, I know it's a great move for both of you to come down and sit down and just discuss recent events just like that, the way they have. To have these difficult conversations. So I want to thank both my guests for joining us tonight, maybe on first string of another set of conversations that we might go and bring together going forward in the future. If you're new to the channel, I want to ask you to please press the like button, also the subscription button, press the little blue bell, and you'll be reminded of future conversations here in the Gran Torino. And again, I'm just going to say one more time, big shout out to Jim, and I encourage you to go and watch the YouTube and the Facebook video that he did on the response to the Strokes down. Again, Herman, going forward, IRA exit next year.
Freedom, yeah.
Go.
Hopefully, the party will run in the European. Well, they will run in the European elections of next year. And so, if you want to change politics, go for self-determination.
And we'll definitely be keeping an eye out on both parties going forward here in the Gran Torino. So, with that, hope to see you again on the next episode of Gran Torino. Wuss.